this episode for a while because I was thinking about it, and this is a subject that pretty much offends or irritates or provokes everybody. Everybody has an opinion on this, and I know that because of a story I'll tell you in just a second. But we're going to talk about the imbalance, the striking imbalance that I'm sure you've noticed this. When you
it's the gender gap here in Poland.
There is a gender gap, but okay. First, let me define some terms. We're going to call it a mixed relationship. Now, for our purposes, that means one part of the relationship is Polish and the other half is not. So we're going to call it a mixed relationship. And I'm sure you've noticed in mixed relationships, 80, 85, maybe 90% of the time, maybe more than that, it's a Polish woman and a foreign guy, right? That is the rule, and the exception is the reverse. Of course, a Polish guy with a foreign girl. I've noticed this forever here in Poland. I'm sure you've noticed as well. And today we're talking about why that is, or some theories on why that is. Why don't we see a more even balance in these mixed relationships? Why is it always a Polish girl and a foreign guy? So the story I mentioned, okay, about 3 months ago on Facebook, I started kind of recruiting, I guess you could say, for this episode, because I thought it would be best to bring in some people who have some personal experience or some strong opinions on this, just to get some variety. And by variety, I mean women.
It's four guys sitting in a room here.
There's four of us talking about this. So I want to get the female perspective on this. And I put a post on the Krakow Expats page on Facebook saying, look, we're going to do the show about these mixed relationships. We're looking for people who have opinions about this, people willing to discuss it, and, message me if you're interested. And over the next, I think it was 4 or 5 hours, I got about 70 or 75 private messages and posts, comments on my post. And I learned...
Not bad with 12 friends.
Thanks. And I learned very quickly that people have intense, strong opinions on this subject, right? And first I'm thinking, okay, this is great. It'd be no problem to get somebody to come into the studio and talk to us. Well, over the next couple of days, I learned that there's a difference between people willing to comment and send me a message and people willing to come into the studio and talk to us. So that 70 or 75 was dramatically reduced to, 10 or 12. And then contacting those people, it was further reduced by the fact that not everybody's comfortable, when they have a chance to think about it, and everybody's comfortable sitting at a microphone and talking about it. So that 10 or 12 was further reduced to about 5. And then that was reduced even further to people who could actually make it work in their schedule and come and see us. And we'll get to them in just a second. We're going to experiment, by the way, with a slightly different format than the one we usually use on the Crackcast. We have some interviews that we recorded previously. We're going to kind of patch into that a bit later. And again, something different, something new. And again, you'll see that in just a few minutes. Okay. Polish girl, foreign guy. Before I continue, Dr. Mike, do you have a take on this? What's your theory on why it's always Polish girl, foreign guy?
There's a lot of possible explanations for this. I mean, I studied with foreigners here, and most of them, at one point or another, had Polish girlfriends. Of the girls, only a handful of them ever actually had Polish boyfriends. They usually had boyfriends that were from other years or from back home. So just in that group, I saw this statistical anomaly presented to me. Theories, well, there's kind of first of all, women are always out looking for men, men are always out looking for women, and there's something about, say, a foreign guy who was raised in a different culture, behaves differently, that might look more exciting, more enticing. Also, when you have a foreign guy coming to a new country, as in a foreign guy coming to Poland, it's usually a type of personality that wants to experiment, see new things, and those might be personality traits that generally also women are more interested in. So they're more likely to, have successes when it comes to finding women in Poland.
So you're saying it's not your typical guy who is in another country.
It's only some types of guys will go to another new country.
Wants to see new things.
Yeah, so
naked Polish girls.
Who doesn't want to see that? Well, when it comes to Polish guys getting foreign women, well, these foreign women are coming to Poland. First of all, there's a lot less of them to begin with.
Yeah.
So just because of that, statistically, it's less likely for them to be hooking up with Polish guys then, because there's just less of them.
Actually, now that you mentioned it, let's go ahead and talk about that. That's one of the qualifiers. In just a minute, I'm going to go through a list of things that we know, because I think some of you listening, you have your opinions on this, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, there are some reasons, and it's ABC and whatnot, and we know those too. And one of the reasons why the imbalance exists is because, as Mike says, just the raw numbers of foreign men and women coming to Poland. It's always more guys than women, either for professional reasons or for traveling reasons or whatever. There are more guys, foreign guys in Poland than there are foreign girls. Okay, so we know that, and we know that explains at least part of the gap. Yeah.
That definitely explains part of it. And also, I'm just thinking right now, I wonder if we notice more often when we see a Polish girl with a foreign guy that, when you see a couple walking by the street, it sticks out more if you think the guy is foreign because, he's talking another language, he dresses or looks differently than your regular Polish guy, and that sticks out and you notice it. But when it's the reverse, you don't really pay attention too much to the fact that the girl is a foreigner, or you don't even listen to her, or you don't even know she's there. God, I sound like a freaking sexist right now.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
But for some reason, it just sticks in our minds. We remember it more when we see a Polish girl with a foreign guy than the other way around.
Think so?
I think that might be part of it as well.
I just think that everybody, for those of you listening, think about your circle of friends, right? Think about how often you have a friend, a Polish girl who's been involved with a foreign guy, and then again, think about the reverse. And I'm sure, what we're talking about kind of resonates with everybody. I think everybody can identify this, and I can't imagine anybody listening to this thesis saying, "Oh no, you're totally wrong." I just can't imagine that. I think it's consistent with everyone's personal experience.
Yeah, people might talk about the statistical numbers as is it 80% or is it 75%, but they all agree that it's definitely heavy towards one side.
Speaking of statistical numbers, Mike, let me put some facts into the conversation here. Again, these are kind of more qualifiers just to give people some perspective on what we're talking about. Now, these numbers are from, it's called GUS, the what's it called? The Główny Urząd Statystyczny.
Like the head statistical office.
Yes, stats office from the national government. And these numbers are from 2017, but let's go ahead and assume that, numbers from 2018 are basically the same. Marriages between a Polish national and a foreigner accounted for only about 6% of all marriages. 6%, right? Not very much in the big picture, 6%. Now, living in a big city like Krakow, these kind of mixed relationships and mixed marriages are much more common. I imagine you go to a smaller town, it's very much the exception, probably, maybe 2% of all marriages, but the national number is 6%. So, again, in the big picture, very much the exception. Again, 2017, there were 13,500 marriages, mixed marriages between a Polish national and a foreigner. Interesting fact, of those 13,500 marriages, mixed marriages, only 4,500, let's call it a third, took place in Poland. 2/3 took place outside of Poland. Now, to me, that says UK, mostly, I'm going to guess, and, Germany, elsewhere around the world, but only a third of these marriages take place in Poland. Draw your own conclusions. Interesting facts also, for marriages between a Polish woman and a foreign man, the top 4 countries of origin for those men, number 1 was England, again, foreign men, number 2, Germany, number 3, Ukraine, and number 4, Italy. For the marriages between a Polish man and a foreign woman, the top 3 countries of origin for the women were Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus. So it looks like we can say that the Polish men look west, the Polish women look west, Polish men look east.
Just add another demographic element. Where I'm from, Dublin has a massive Polish population, and it seems to be the commonly held opinion down the pub is that you don't see actually that many Polish women with Dublin guys in Dublin. The ones that have moved to work there, they tend to all kind of stay with their own. You would, from what you're saying, you would tend to see then you would be expecting 60, 70, 80% of the women who move to Dublin to end up with Irish guys, but that's very much not the case.
No, but actually that goes back to what I was saying, because when you go and talk to, Polish women in foreign countries, then the Polish guys that are there are the kind of guys that decide to go to a foreign country. So they're more of the quote unquote alpha male type. So, then there are guys that have more personality, plus they also are from a culture that I am a little more comfortable with.
Although I must agree, I've never seen in Dublin a Polish guy dating an Irish woman. I know it's awful to say, but I just honestly don't ever remember encountering that. And there's an awful lot of Polish people where I live in Dublin. So it's definitely skewed one way. I'm not sure if this is an easy topic to unpick, though, John. I admire you for taking it on. You've gone to the Central Statistics Office. You've talked to all 12 of your friends on Facebook. I am very impressed with you right now.
We're going to cut to some interviews we did with 2 women with some different perspectives on this in just a minute. But before we do,
they're also a bit confused to the reasons we must warn you.
Yeah, they have their own opinions as well.
They came in, sat down on our couch, and we spent some time recording them.
You had to make it weird, Mike.
Yeah,
didn't
what
you?
does that mean?
We were doing well there, you know.
Kind of flow. You just ruined it completely. Try to get back on track here.
We keep Mike in the
Before
kitchen when
we-
you visit us.
Before we cut to the interviews, I thought I would take that feedback I got on Facebook. I remember I told you 70 or 75 comments and private messages. What I'm going to do is I'm going to like aggregate them and kind of boil them down into some common themes that appeared over and over and over. So it's
Could
like
you
a
not just read out
summary.
a sample of them?
I can't find it.
You didn't bother your arse copying and pasting them. is what
I
you
didn't
mean.
feel like going
You're going
back.
to aggregate them. What a fancy way of saying you didn't bother bringing
on the Krakow
any.
Expats page. I'm not going to go back that far. So, but I saw the same ideas, the same comments kind of appear over and over and over. So I'm gonna group them together in, I don't know, 3 or 4 main topics.
Using your algorithmic aggregator.
And you guys, Dave and Mike, you can comment on this. And now I want to make this clear for those of you listening. Okay, I am the messenger here. I'm repeating to you what other people told me.
And then you want us to react to that?
Yeah.
No.
So don't jump all over me on this.
so we
Jump
get
over us.
Because I'm going to say something at the top of the show. I said this is the subject that's going to offend a lot of people, going to provoke a lot of people, and we're going to get to that part in just a minute. So
Just read the comments out. Me and Mike ain't saying shit. All right, just read them out.
All right. Did I mention I'm just the messenger? Because I
No.
am. All right. By far, the most common theme in these messages I got was from women who claim that Polish guys are less than ideal. And I say it that way. Polish guys are fucked up. That was a phrase used many times by Polish women. Remember, I'm the messenger here, okay?
Don't give him what he wants, Mike. He wants to get us in trouble.
Guys-
Let him just aggregate. Let him aggregate away.
Guys, what do you think about Polish women saying Polish guys are fucked up? Fair
You're the one
or
with
is it
all the
fair or just
comments.
women bitching about this?
Women bitch about a lot of things to
When
begin
you
with.
ask someone to say what they don't like about something, they're going to say something negative in general, which is, it sounds like you got a lot of in general comments.
Yeah,
you know?
I did.
And I think we mentioned that all the time. But I mean, I'm a Polish guy, and I've heard a lot of things from Polish women.
But can we say, is there something specific about
Well
Polish
said,
guys?
Mikey.
Aren't guys generally fucked up? Can I say the same thing about American guys
Yeah.
and Irish guys and English guys? Aren't we
believe-
all just fucked up because we're
We
guys?
are. We're big man babies, and I assume that most women, when they meet a foreign guy, the stuff that's lost in translation, the cultural differences, make her blind to the regular man stuff that's bad
I
everywhere.
mean, I would have assumed Polish guys would be a little bit more mature than, say, Irish guys. I don't know. I mean, that's just my prejudice coming into play there. I don't know your two friends on Facebook, so,
13, I told you. All right. So, Josh, any you want to weigh in on this? I'll give you the. Josh just joined us, so let me just catch him
Nice
up.
one, John. The guy was in the toilet. You just bring it on.
Let me just catch him up to speed here.
Being a real dick.
Josh, can we make any gross generalizations about Polish guys and their suitability for?
There's like
for
a 2-second
women.
delay on the headphones, which is not insignificant.
That's good.
So yeah, what's the question?
Yeah, Polish guys. If you were a Polish girl, let's take this angle. If you were a Polish woman,
We should call this piece. What's the question?
would you be attracted to Polish guys or slightly disappointed with Polish guys?
What a weird question.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. Well, I mean, there's a few Polish guys I know who are kind of very, very interesting and not what you call like typical.
Again, Krakow's full of
What's
hipsters,
typical?
well-dressed young men with good hair. You know what I mean?
Yuppies, yeah. It's like the crop here.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's. Well, typical, I suppose, is what typical people go for other typical people who are on the
All right, is
fringes. kind of-
criticism of Polish guys justified? Are they not up to? Are they not as good as they should be? Are English guys better than Polish guys?
You know what I've heard sometimes when people really get generalising about this, John? Sometimes they say horrific things, which I'm assuming offend you deeply. You say, their hair, they don't have much hair, Polish guys. How do you feel about that, John?
Well, we are all over the place. This is what happens when you try to keep these three people on a fucking
I'm just
track.
saying, baldness is something that comes up when you discuss Polish man, and you don't have any hair, so I
Is
just
it
wanted
more,
to
you think it's more
get your
common
take
among
on
Polish
this.
guys? There's no bald guys in Ireland?
There's more male pattern baldness in Poland. I'm 1,000,000% sure of it than there is in Ireland.
It does seem that way. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Hair is like compensation for the rest of our looks in Ireland.
All right,
I don't know.
Since I didn't get a good answer for that question, I'll ask another one.
And you didn't answer my question.
Now here's that's a theme today, not answering the question. Here's another one. When it comes time for the guys to complain about the women, they say that the reason there are so many foreign guys involved with Polish women, they say that their own women, be they American or Irish or Italian or whatever,
are ugly.
They're
I've
just
heard
not,
this off Polish
they're just
guys.
not as attractive or just not as feminine.
I've heard Polish guys outright say Irish women are ugly. I've heard so many of them say that I'm sorry, I have to throw that accusation out there.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't say that. Polish men have been running you down awful late.
Let's turn it around. Let's make it complimentary to Polish women. They say Polish women are more attractive and more feminine, and that's why foreign guys are attracted to them. Is there something to that?
Yeah.
I would definitely argue that there is, that they're, I wouldn't want to say old fashioned, but they're still feminine. I think that's probably the word to use. They're strong, they're confident, they're well educated, but they're not trying to be dudes, if that makes sense.
This is exactly it.
But they're women. They act like women. They dress like women. I have to admit too, I mean, when I go back to Florida, sometimes I go, for example, to the mall or go out and there might occasionally be a woman that'll turn my head, and I can go to the mall here and it's hard to walk in a straight line because your head is being turned. So I love my wife, by the way. Did I mention that? But
She turned your head for good, yeah.
We're generalizing, of course, but I think there's an element of truth in that. Yeah, is it wrong to say?
Truth that cuts both ways. As I say, I've known many a Polish guy back in Dublin who would have no problem saying outright to my face that he considers Irish women deeply inferior in the looks department. To which I've always taken offence, kind of foul outrage and said, nonsense. You're generalising.
English girls. Let's get some damning statements from you on the record too here.
Well, aside from my sisters, who
are lovely, I'm sure.
Then, it's and actually I can be pretty sure that none of my English exes are listening to this. So, I think.
Well, let's get a Polish woman's perspective on this. We talked to Gosia about what she thinks about this subject, and here's what she had to say. Gosia, thanks for joining us here on the Crycast.
Hi, hello. Thank you for the invitation.
All right. Tell us about your own experience with the subject of mixed relationships.
My experience is based on insider view. I was in a relationship with a Polish guy for almost 8 years. And when I came out on the market again, let's say, I really noticed the difference between the approach towards me between Polish guys and foreigners.
Now, when you say difference, what kind of things specifically did you notice?
For example, foreigners are more handsome.
Now that sounds like a gross generalization. Sounds like a gross generalization.
Yes, of course, I agree. It was kind of a joke, but
was it really? I don't know. Was it?
I feel that there is a lot of great Polish guys, but they are taken, and the biggest difference I saw was in an approach. I mean, foreigners were more open, they were more easygoing, they were more spontaneous, they did not plan the whole relationships based on first date. First dates should be, like a game, like a nice evening. Once I was on a date with Polish guy, and he was really super focused, in a corporation. He had the target, and he asked me about after 1 hour if I want to have a baby and if I'm going to deliver in 1 year.
So you were being interviewed for the position of wife.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the good.
So you think that Polish guys just approach the whole thing as a practical task, like I have to find a woman that's going to marry me and help me with household stuff and take care of the kids? And
not really. Partially, yes. I think Polish guys they want more that they can have. They want a saint. They want a lover. They want a wife. They want a cleaner. I feel that
not just Polish guys. I think it's in general.
Yeah.
But I feel that in the Polish guys, it's this need is much more expressed.
So they're too direct too soon, maybe in the relationship?
Yes, they generalize too more. They are not so easygoing and open. I think it's generally about kind of openness to the world. Maybe foreigners, they came here, they lived in another cities, so it's just the openness.
But, yeah.
Well, I just had a question here. Just so we have our bearings, how many Polish guys did you date before you dated a foreigner? What was your experiences? How many first dates with different Polish guys?
Oh, I've dated only Polish guys before, and I was on, I don't know, I didn't count, but it was 5, 6, I don't know.
Is it possible, Gosia, that you were just unlucky with the Polish guys and
Yeah.
lucky with the foreign guy, maybe? You just, I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's also true. Can be true, but I would also speak in my friends.
Their experiences?
Yes, to sum up, because this is not only my experience, but some of my girlfriends. They are saying the same, that this kind of easiness, approach towards relations is different.
Would you say that generally speaking, and in your circle of friends, your girlfriends, that most of them were also open to or maybe prefer some kind of romantic relationship with a foreigner over a Polish guy?
I would say that they would like to have a partner who is Polish. Me personally too, but I'm not finding those features that I'm looking for in Polish guys. Maybe I'm not unlucky.
So your default is to prefer a Polish guy, but your experience says that foreign guys are somehow better. Is that fair to say?
I would say I wouldn't say better or worse. They are just different, and I'm looking for some kind of like partnership. In my experience, the Polish guy did not give me that, but maybe as you said, I'm unlucky.
Where did you meet these Polish guys? I mean, were they friends of friends, people you worked with at school? How'd you get in touch with these for the first time?
Different backgrounds, of course, like online apps too, but also like in a pub, or was a friend of a friend, so different sources.
Okay, but even if everything you say is true, and maybe let's say you're typical or you're representative of the general opinion, I'm not convinced that still accounts for the huge imbalance that we talked about in the introduction to this show. We talked about the numbers. It's roughly 85, maybe 90% Polish woman, foreign guy, and 10-15% Polish guy, foreign woman. Can you think of anything else that might help to explain this huge imbalance?
I would also ask the question why foreigners choose Polish women.
She's turning it around on us again. Nice move, Gosia.
Maybe there is no foreign girls in Poland,
Well, that's part of it. Yeah, there's a lot more foreign guys here for whatever, business reasons, or just, guys do that. Guys will just say, I'm going to move to this country X for a while just for the hell of it and see what happens. Whereas girls generally don't do that. Mm-hmm. And so guys just end up here for different reasons. And so there's a lot more single guys, foreign guys out there on the market, as you said.
I ought to say, actually, I'm going to interrupt. Sorry, Mike. But, I'm equally open to Ukrainian and Belarusian girls if they're...
If they're listening.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was saying, yeah.
What I was about to say is like the type of guy who will come to a foreign country, someplace he doesn't know the culture, doesn't know the language, is also more likely to be more open to new experiences, more of a risk taker, and in that sense, more of a kind of personality that women will find attractive. So the kind of foreign guy that comes to Poland is generally the kind of guy I think women would find more appealing, while the betas are back home in wherever they came from.
Oh, we're talking about beta guys now. Wow.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's getting deep here.
Good point.
Gosia, thoughts on that, maybe?
I would really strongly agree with you, because I feel this is the foreigners who are traveling, they are more open to the world, to new experiences, and this changes, I don't know, their mind, their expectations, and Polish guys, I'm not generally speaking, they are not traveling, but they are not traveling for work in like foreigners in Krakow, for example.
Actually, that just gave me an idea here right now. If you really do want to find a Polish guy, if that's your default, then maybe you should go for the Polish guys that move to a foreign country, because you have the leftovers here right now.
We should make a dating site. Polish guys who live out of Poland with girls who live in Poland. It's complicated.
Actually, I'm going to interrupt, because I do have friends who are a Polish couple that didn't know each other prior to both having separately moved to the UK and were working in kind of, close to each other and met there, and probably would never have met in Poland, but they did meet.
All right, I feel like I have to say this again. I think I said it a couple of times in the introduction to the show. We are generalizing. There are no right answers or wrong answers. These are all gross generalizations, but as is often the case, there's a seed of truth in a lot of generalizations. So having said that, again, Gosia, the question for you is, do you think that for a lot of Polish women, that the idea of being pursued, let's say, chased romantically by a foreign guy has some kind of extra sexiness to it that being chased by a Polish guy does not have? Is it just give you a more of a thrill to know that a foreign guy is interested in you than a Polish guy?
I read an article about that before I came here, and there was a statement that some of the Polish women choose the foreigner because everything what is not from Poland is better.
Yeah, there is this mentality sometimes. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So I can be proud that I have whatever the guy is, but he's from Italy or Netherlands or whatever, and but it's not my experience. But maybe of some.
Do you think? And again, we're generalizing. I feel like I have to say this over and over because we're going to get a lot of hate from this episode. I think a lot of hate. When I was kind of recruiting people on Facebook, so to speak, to come and talk to us for this show, I got a lot of messages, direct messages for people who had very strong opinions on this subject. And one of the themes that popped up over and over again was how, and this is from Polish girls, was the negativity and the criticism of Polish guys. Like really harsh criticism. Polish guys are this, Polish guys are that. And fair or a little too harsh on you think Polish women can be a little too harsh on Polish guys, or is it a fair criticism?
I will also say that I will generalize.
Of course, generally speaking, yes.
But I feel that a lot of guys who are not taken, the Polish guys, they are quite emotionally immature, or some basic stuff like cleaning yourself or taking care about the clothes, or like really basic stuff they are not taking care of.
So they're still kids, basically. No?
So it's like...
Well, once again, not just Polish guys, I have to say.
No, I was going to say, there's plenty of those in this.
This is pretty much standard.
This is what we do, Gosha. I'm sorry.
That's males.
Yeah.
We have to work on it.
Or on the other hand, we have this Peter Pan mentality. They are super, well-dressed, well-groomed and whatever, but there is something that's missing.
Let me flip this around for a second. We're beating up on Polish guys. Let's praise Polish girls, and I'll give you a chance to praise Polish girls here. Could the gross imbalance in mixed couples be attributable to the fact that Polish girls, again, generally speaking, are quite nice? Could that be behind it? It's not Polish guys suck, it's that Polish girls are great.
I've heard that opinions too, that Polish women are really pretty and easygoing. But I've also heard that those kind of opinions that we had before towards mixed relationships between Polish guys and Ukrainian girls. So maybe Polish girls or women, they are chosen because they have more traditional approach. Even if we feel that we have changed, maybe for the foreigner this is something old-fashioned and they are looking for that.
So attractive, in other words, the fact that generally speaking, that Polish girls are maybe more conventional, traditional than maybe their counterparts in some other country, yeah?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the downsides of being in a mixed relationship. Maybe after the initial thrill is gone and you've kind of accepted the fact you're in a relationship with a foreign person and that kind of novelty is gone. What are some of the things that can make a mixed relationship difficult in the long term going forward?
I think, of course, there could appear some problems. For example, if the guy wants to came back to his country, a girl doesn't, or there are some differences between the cultures. I remember when I was in a relationship with an Italian guy, we spoke in English, and that was not the language of love for me. It was really hard to express myself romantically in this language. And I missed all those small linguistical details that I could share with Polish guy who will understand me, I think 100%. Of course, you can learn the language and then practice that, and love will last. But
that must be difficult. It wasn't your first language, not his first language. So you're both at kind of a disadvantage, I guess, when it comes to really saying what you want to say, huh?
Yeah.
I was thinking if he was Italian, he must be really upset, because I think the Italians like to think that the Italian language is the language of love. Unless, of course, you're speaking to a French person, but then...
Is it? Well, that's true. Yeah, okay. When you're involved with, let's say, if you were involved with a Polish guy, you grew up in the same culture, you sang the same songs as kids, you know the same classic television shows, the little cultural things that kind of put you in the same group, bind you together, right?
Yes.
And when you're involved with a foreign guy, those things are missing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to say. This kind of common culture background that I have to explain, and somebody, Polish guy, would understand it immediately.
So do you think that makes it that much more difficult to stay in love and to make it last in the long term?
I don't think so, because this is just the culture background and not that super important as something like partnership or ability to talk about everything or so on. So in the long term, I think it's not a problem.
Last question for you. Let's have a hypothetical. I like hypotheticals. In the future, your daughter comes to you and she says, Mom, I've met this guy. He's from wherever, some other country. And, it's getting serious. I think I'm in love. Are you happy or not?
If the guy is fine, I'm really happy.
So the fact that he's a foreigner is irrelevant?
No, I would say even maybe it's nature. I've read research showing that the children from mixed relationships or marriages are more healthy and more stronger, and they are even higher in terms of...
So you'd be disappointed if it was a Polish guy. Interesting. Right, Gosia, thanks for joining us on the Crowdcast.
Thank you.
All right, so that's Gosia's take on things. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't agree. Maybe she's a typical Polish woman, maybe she isn't. You make up your own mind. There are no right or wrong answers here. Everybody's got their own opinion on this. We also spoke with Leah Morawiec. Now, she is the exception to the rule. She is that 10%. She is an American woman married to a Polish guy, living here in Poland, actually. And here is her take on the gender imbalance in mixed relationships. Leah Morawiec has lived in Gliwice, just down the road from us, for about 8 years. She's originally from Florida, just like me. She runs a blog called Polonization about life in Poland. We'll put a link to it in the show notes, of course. Leah, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me here.
Right. So you're married to a Polish guy. How long have you been married?
Oh, we've been married for 3 years now.
3 years.
Yeah.
So let me ask you two questions. Well, maybe it's one question with two parts. Do you agree with the idea that the proportion of mixed relationships in Poland is grossly weighted on one side, where almost all the couples are with Polish women? And if you do agree with that, why do you think that is?
Yeah, actually, I do agree with that. I mean, I think I know maybe 2 foreign women who have come here to marry Polish men, but that's it. I mean, and I know a lot of people because I have some employees who are also from other countries. So, yeah, I think it is pretty skewed, actually. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, aside from the fact that probably Slavic women attract men from all over the world, I think that also perhaps, I don't know if people think about this like before they come here, but maybe it has something to do with like traditions here, traditional family roles and that kind of thing.
They're attracted to the femininity of Polish women?
No, I think in fact, I'll go like kind of the opposite way, that maybe Western women, maybe Poland doesn't appeal to them so much, just because, maybe they don't find the traditional family roles to be so interesting to them, because I think a typical, stereotypical Polish guy kind of expects a woman to be, at home to take care of the kids, and maybe Western women don't really find that interesting. So maybe they just don't, they don't come here for that reason.
So some guys are finding what they want, I guess you could say, in Polish women,
right?
So to speak. Okay.
Okay, maybe. But maybe also Western women just don't come here for that reason, They're just, In
your opinion or in your experience, do you think there are any characteristics about, again, I said this before already, these are gross generalizations. I know that, but still, in your opinion, do you think there are any characteristics about Polish guys that are generally positive and attractive, or maybe others that are, negative and unattractive?
Well, I mean, I'm married to a Polish guy. So, however...
Be careful.
However, I don't think he's a stereotypical Polish guy. So, we have a really egalitarian relationship. So, we share all the family roles and everything like that. However, I don't think that, a typical Polish guy would share all of the duties at home the way that he does. So I think that it's possible that this...
So are you saying the Polish guys are not very good at the housekeeping part of the relationship?
Yeah, I mean, I live in Śląsk, so I think that there especially these kinds of things are really strong. These traditions are really strong at the home. So I think that they would kind of expect the woman to more stay home. Of course she can work, but I think that, she takes care of the kids, that kind of thing. And perhaps women from other countries just aren't really interested in that.
Okay, how about positive aspects of Polish guys?
Positive aspects of Polish guys.
Oh, she's thinking about this. Bad sign.
Very polite, I would say.
Polite.
Courteous.
Courteous. Yeah, I would say that too. I would say that.
That's a short list for Poland.
But I don't know.
Well,
Very handsome.
Otherwise, I mean, like, compared to other guys, I just don't know.
It's very
I don't.
hard to compare like races, John.
That's really hard for me to say.
Yeah, but let's talk about something like
Dived us into some deep water here, dude.
All right, Dave, I'll explain. This is why I get paid the big bucks. Okay.
Okay,
This
all
is why
right,
I get paid
okay.
the big bucks. I go where other people are afraid to go. Okay, and I'm going to go there right now.
You're like the Howard Stern of modern podcastery. Is that what you're saying to me?
Most people
You're
listening
fearless
have no idea
in your
what you just
broadcasting
referred to.
attitude.
Here's where I'm.
What
gonna
is
go.
your point, dude?
I'm going to go running into a minefield. Okay, right now.
Go ahead.
Let me put on my running shoes. I'm going to stretch. I'm going to run right into this minefield.
Your most robust sandals on.
Here's the thing. A lot of people have a thing, let's say, a liking for, a certain a look, right? Some guys have a thing for Asian women, for example, right? Or some women might be attracted to the Latin lover type. What am I making this up? You never heard this before? Come on. All right. Leah, can we generalize
The Asian type.
I said Latin lover type or Asian women. Play it back and listen carefully. Oh, what, Dave, you're going to pretend you've never heard of this before?
I think I know what you're saying.
Yeah, you know exactly what I'm saying. See, again,
You think men come to Poland to meet Polish women? Is that what you're trying to say?
Asian women.
The question is for Leah. Leah,
Sorry.
can we generalize about the physical appearance of Polish men, or is that completely unfair and nothing to be learned there, or what?
I mean, I think it's possible. I think you can kind of generalize. But then again, I mean, Polish guys, they're all kind of different looking the way Polish women are all kind of different looking. But I guess there is kind of like a bald guy stereotype.
Glad you said it, Leah.
Bald guys.
Nothing. Nothing at all.
What? Bald guy stereotype? Okay.
Yeah, but also like kind of big muscly kind of guys with no
Jim.
necks.
That would be, I suppose, that would be the stereotype in Ireland. Gym going, lack of hair.
But don't
neck.
lots of countries have this kind of look?
Yeah, right. Which is kind of why it's hard to stereotype.
But I'll put it this way. You see somebody walking down the street. Now, here in Krakow, you should be able to be pretty good at this with the number of tourists that we have. At a glance, can you tell if someone is Polish or likely Polish or definitely not Polish?
I can tell, usually I can tell someone Irish from about 600 meters away.
Because of their big white
Based
thighs?
on-
Yeah, or they're asking for butter at an over-Yankee stand or something.
All right. So, Leah,
So I love the way your question basically is, Leah,
what?
not to generalize, but can you please generalize?
No, I didn't say not to general. We have to general. We're dealing in generalizations here. Of course we are. But we can't pretend at the same time. We can't pretend.
What's your take on it,
there's no
John?
basis
You
in
get paid the big
generalizations.
bucks. What's your take on this whole thing?
I didn't get
What's
paid this
behind
week
this
or last
phenomenon?
week or the week before. My take on what?
I don't know. Whatever we're talking about.
Wait. Let me go back to Leah first. Leah.
Yeah.
Give us an example of the kind of issues that have come up, to the extent you're willing to share with us, of course, issues that have come up because you are American and because your husband is Polish.
Better question.
Oh, thank you, Dave.
Like issues in the way that we communicate, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, issues that maybe would not come up if you were married to an American guy or if he was married to a Polish woman.
I mean, yeah, aside from like general kind of like language barrier stuff, I think there's a really huge difference in the way that we show or express love. I don't know if you guys want to go there.
Yeah, let's go there.
Okay.
Minefield, let's go.
But yeah, this is an issue which I've been thinking about a lot recently, and I wanted to write a blog post about it actually because I think we're really expressive in America.
Definitely.
And when it comes to our emotions, we're really, really like willing to put them out there. Even if you look on like Instagram or Facebook, we have all those kinds of tribute posts. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but it's like if it's someone's birthday or if it's like your anniversary, you write some kind of post where you say, oh, my husband is so amazing. He's the king of my world. He's such a great father. And like Polish people would, I think, die from shock if you did something like that.
Or it's like on TV shows, like any reality TV show, it's like Americans are trained from birth to give the emotional talking head segments. It's unbelievable. Like MasterChef, on cue they'll all cry. Like, sorry, continue, Leah. But I think you're onto something here, definitely.
It's uncomfortable. And I think like, I don't know if that's just an American thing.
It is, you're on that.
Or I don't know if like only Poles are not like willing to express that kind of feeling, or if it's just kind of a European thing. Because I know that I was talking to my English friend about that, and she said like it kind of makes her cringe to think about that too. So I don't know if it's just we're a little over the top in that way or not, but yeah, I mean, that is one kind of difference, I think, between us. And I mean, we don't really struggle with it because I don't care so much, but I did notice that as a big difference. So
you think it's possible to get to the point in your relationship where your nationality, culture, background, and his nationality, culture, and background don't matter? You just think of him as a man, he thinks of you as a woman, and everything else kind of is incidental?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty much at that point. I think that for us, it doesn't matter so much, to be honest, yeah.
You can be like fully, I don't know what's the word, kind of integrated on the same page, you know? Don't you have like cultural reference points that are completely different than his? Vice versa. I mean, can you ever really be on the same?
It's part of the fun of that type of relationship.
Yeah, I think it is. But I do think it's possible, honestly, because, you know, we like the same kinds of things. So I think that that's the most important thing for us. You know, we like the same kind of music, movies, and that kind of thing. So all this other kind of cultural stuff, I mean, I think if you're really religious or something and you're really connected to your culture in that way, could be hard, but otherwise I think the two of us aren't so like deeply rooted in our cultures. Plus I've been here for like 8 years. So I think that I've lost a little bit of that like American style.
Doesn't the fact that you live here in Poland, I mean, the fact that your husband is Polish, doesn't it help you integrate that much better? And it's kind of like a bridge to a world that you would not have if you were living here with an American husband.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, you get to like take part in all the like, you know, traditions and all the cultural things. So absolutely. I mean, also there's the motivation to learn the language in that way too. Otherwise there'd be just no motivation, I think.
Everything is kind of accelerated because he can kind of, you know, make things happen that much faster.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So here's the big test. Would you recommend Polish men to ladies looking for a husband?
Yeah, actually, I have a post about that too, like the difference between American men and Polish men.
All right, give us one or two of the most important ones in your opinion.
Yeah, I think like what you said earlier, the Polish men are kind of more polite in some way, and I think that's one of the big ones. What else?
The things that really make them, you know, something that recommends them, being polite, and I think Polish guys are kind of. Gross generalization. I know. I think they're more responsible. If you get the right one, they're kind of, I don't know. They understand the value. You know, family, work, kind of being. You can count on them. I think.
Yeah, that's right. They're definitely.
But
I agree too. I think that they're like, yeah, they're very like family oriented, whereas in the States we're not quite as family oriented. So that's pretty important, especially in my relationship. I think because we spend a lot of time with our family, so we really feel that.
Particularly when you live in Krakow, like the amount of people that are always in the office going to visit their parents at the weekend.
Yeah.
It is very nice.
That's a good example. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Visiting grandma.
There's definitely more of a very strong familial culture in Poland. That's definitely true.
Yeah, and I also have to say, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but going back to the kind of American thing with the emotions, expressing emotions, that kind of stuff, I feel like in America there's this really high expectations for your partner to be like, everything for you, kind of to play every role and to be like, you know, the most important person in your life, which of course they are. But here, I think the expectations in some way are more realistic.
I think I'm with your British friend, by the way. This is more of a European American thing. In all parts of Europe, we look at American TV and we kind of go, holy shit.
What's going on? Yeah.
What is going on there? They're all so in touch with their emotions.
It's not just TV. I think it's like actually goes into real life. So that is kind of nice because, you know, the expectations just aren't so high to have this like perfect fairy tale relationship. It's more like kind of real life, and I like that a lot.
Things that happen regardless of where you're from, right? But generally speaking, sorry, I missed this part. You give Polish guys 5 stars?
Definitely, absolutely, absolutely.
5-star rating for Leah. Polonization.pl is the site. That's Polonization with a Z or a Z if you prefer it that way. Go there and read all about Leah's take on life in Poland and her experience living with a Polish husband. Leah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
All right, Dr. Mike, so we got a couple of other perspectives on this. Any final insights or comments on the subject of mixed relationships?
I mean, we've definitely heard a lot here to think about. It's all over the place, to be honest. But the truth is, even though it's all over the place, it's still obvious that there is, heavily leaning towards the fact that more women are dating foreign guys than the other way around in Poland. If it was just random, if it was just a fluke, it wouldn't be distributed the way it is.
Yeah, there's something deeper at work here to produce, this kind of imbalance.
There are variables at play here. There's, the invisible hand of the market kind of like sticking its fingers into the pie here as well.
Excellent mixed metaphor.
Wow, getting deep here. I think that's deep. I'm not sure.
Well, it depends on, maybe that's another reason why they find foreign
here's
guys.
Here's the thing. I mean, it's kind of like the success of it is a market in a way. And the market is saying that foreign guys like Polish girls grossly more disproportionately than the opposite is true. And there must be a reason for that. And I think it's a fair question to ask why it is that way.
And the question is, will we be able to answer that question? I think this is something that people should talk about. It's a fun topic that everybody gets their opinions on here, riled up and emotional, but in a kind of a good way. It's not kind of thing that people are going to start wars over or anything, but it's a great topic, to over a beer start discussing.
I think it is a good topic. I think it's one of those topics that everybody notices it, but they don't talk about it until somebody else mentions it first. Then you say, oh yeah, I've noticed that too. I mean, how can you not notice it? I mean, again, like I said earlier, look at your circle of friends, look at the people around you, and just count the relationships with a Polish girl and a foreign guy, and then count the reverse, and then you'll see that the 90%, if anything, might be a little bit low. It might be 95, 97%. I have no idea. Anyway. Josh, final thoughts on mixed relationships?
I agree with everything you say. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Good final thought. Good comment, Josh. Well, anyway, guys, we're curious to know what you think about this. Let us know on our Facebook page. Write us an email. Maybe we'll do a follow-up on this. Maybe we missed a perspective. Maybe there's a reason that we just didn't see that's right in front of us that might help to explain this phenomenon. We'd be curious to know what you think. And
we're really open up to all ideas.
Or if you're an angry,
throwing it out there, and
totally.
Or if you're like an angry Polish guy who's frustrated in their quest for a foreign bird, then
if you're an angry let's get the angry Polish perspective on this. I'd like to have a Polish guy come here in the studio and just rip into Polish women with a flamethrower and just say, what's wrong? I don't know. Let's start some fights. In other words, yeah, that makes for good.
If a Polish guy actually does do something like that, it might explain why he's having trouble with women to begin with.
Okay, yeah, maybe we should tone things down a little bit. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening to the Crackcast. Again, share with your friends and let us know. Write to us and let us know what you think about this mixed relationship situation. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on the show.